Hey, beautiful people. I was asked to do a video on what can help insomnia. Uh, Insomnia is one of those things that is affecting so many people on the planet. The vibrations are so challenging for so many people with everything going on. So I thought we'd have a quick chat about the many things. So in the kinesiology world, there's sort of like the structural imbalances. So obviously, if your nervous system structurally is out of balance, that's not going to help you get a good night's sleep. Being in pain can actually activate a whole bunch of stress and pain hormones. Your adrenal glands make 62 hormones. So if your adrenal glands are on all night long because of pain or stress, then that's going to switch off your ability to get that little brain to go, okay, life is great, life is beautiful, I'm going to get a good night's sleep. Instead, the brain's going to be going, oh my Lord, everything's dangerous. I must stay awake and never sleep again so that I don't miss the danger that's coming. How many of us have had a few sleepless nights in the last while? So that's one thing. So, and in order to do something about that, we need to calm down the adrenal glands. So from a herbal perspective, there's lots of herbs that help. They're called adaptogenic herbs. They help our nervous system to deal with more stress before it falls apart. So they take time to work because it's about toning the nervous system and the adrenal glands. So it's things like rhodiola, Siberian ginseng, Korean ginseng, withania, kava, lemon balm, lime flowers, hawthorn berries, particularly for the heart when we've got the palpitations going on. So there's lots and lots of adaptogenic herbs. That's the thing to look up on the net and find things that slowly but surely help to calm the adrenal glands and the nervous system down. If you're not fighting weight issues, having good old-fashioned rolled oats. For people who can't deal with carbs, that's not a great thing. But good old rolled oats, the oats are a good nervous system tonic, as are nettles. So getting nettles tea, St. John's wort tea, the lemon balm, lime flower teas can be really beneficial through the day as well. So that's just some of the adaptogenic things. When our nervous system is in an excitatory state, so that means that something's in there saying to the nervous system, don't relax, whatever you do, don't relax. It's sort of, so that's an excitatory state. We release a whole bunch of this stuff called glutamate in the brain. And glutamate, we need it when we need to get things done. We need it when we've got a deadline. We need it when we've got to run away from the tiger, the lion, the bear, ho. So, when we've got that excess glutamate in the brain, things that help to calm that down as well can be really important. So we need to pick up our adaptogenic herbs and allow our nervous system to relax, but at the same time we need to calm the glutamate. So the sort of things that help to do that are your minerals, your potassiums, magnesiums, calciums, and there's good forms and bad forms of all of these things. So the oxides tend to be fairly nasty versions, and you want your citrates and your biglycinides, your biglycinate, and your diglycinate herbs, because those ones are very easy to absorb. Going back about 20 years, everything that was chelated was a good thing in minerals, but that was before a lot of the newer technology. What that means is it's when there's a coating on the outside of the minerals so that it actually goes through your gut and doesn't break apart until it's in the small intestine. And once again, 20 years ago, that was a really good technology at the time, because you could hide a form of magnesium, say magnesium oxide, and it wouldn't actually, and because it's coated, that coating wouldn't break down until it was in the gut. But that can then hide dodgy forms. Here in Australia, you don't have to actually say what form of mineral it is if it's been chelated. So they can put all sorts of dodgy forms of minerals if it's chelated. Now, it doesn't mean that all chelated minerals are a problem, but that is one of the issues. So the type of things here in Australia that I love are the Metagenics, Carmex, things like the SleepX formula, minerals that basically help to calm the nervous system. We've got CardioX, we've got all sorts of bits and pieces with cofactors in there as well, in order to help the absorption of your body to take up these minerals in a really nice form. So that's sort of looking at the glutamate, calming it down in the body, and it's also about the adaptogenic herbs. And then there's the things you can do just before sleep. So if you can get herbal tonics made up, there's a really nice formula that I do for a lot of my clients, which is good old 50% ziziphus, 50% passion flower. Now that's a really nice formula because it works on the nervous system, and it also helps to calm the temperature in the body, so then you can snuggle up and feel really nice and secure, underneath the blankie, under the sheets. It's cold here in Brisbane. I say cold. I know it's not as cold as around the world, but for us, it got down to 7 degrees Celsius the last few nights, so that's a bit chill. We're only getting down to 14 tonight. There must be, the sun must be shining. There's a lot of hot air out there or something going on. Anyway, but there's lots of herbs that you can take just before bed. If you're the sort of person who has palpitations and that's keeping you awake overnight, then thinking about things that protect your heart can be a really good idea. So one of the most important antioxidants for the heart is coenzyme Q10. And when we're on a lot of medications for the heart, sometimes it makes your doctor feel great because the numbers on the page are looking better, but meanwhile the heart organ itself can be getting less and less toned, or the quality of the heart can be going down, even if the blood pressure and the cholesterol and all that sort of thing is looking great on the page and your doctor's going tick, 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 because they're box tickers. That's what they love to do. So things like coenzyme Q10, and once again we've chatted about what's going on the planet in relation to enlarged hearts and stuff at the moment, and where those spike proteins are going. So protecting our heart is going to be really important moving forward, and paying attention to symptoms as they have arisen. I actually had a client years ago who had an enlarged heart, and it was about 20% enlarged, and through the combination of stem cell production products, coenzyme Q10, magnesium and vitamin E, we got his heart back to normal. Now, I don't know whether enlargement because of the spike protein jabs, I'm not sure whether it's going to be the same, but I do seem to be getting some results from that perspective, calming down those palpitations when they're getting those sort of symptoms. So there's herbs specifically for the heart. Hawthorn berries, ginkgo biloba helps with the blood supply. Once again, lime flowers and lemon balm for calming the palpitations, and that can end up being that the poor old nervous system and immune system is just having a really hard time dealing with it. And coenzyme Q10, if we're on medications for our heart, whether they're blood pressure meds or cholesterol drugs, we need to be having coenzyme Q10 every day, somewhere between 100 and 450 milligrams, depending on the dose of drugs that we're taking. So that's just something to really keep in mind. It's because the cholesterol drugs particularly stop the production of coenzyme Q10, and CoQ10 is the most important antioxidant for the heart. So it's a big must. So that's from the heart perspective. If we've got PTSD, then the Moro reflex can be working all of the time. So go check out my videos on doing the Moro reflex exercise. I think I've got a playlist, primitive reflexes, or maybe it's called Moro. Anyway, if you Google in my videos and type in Moro, M-O-R-O, there's I've got about 3 now where I'm doing the Moro exercise, and every time you do that, it's creating connections from the frontal cortex, where we problem solve, to the rear of the brain, where our survival patterns are running. So for those of us who have had trauma in our life and are still suffering the grief, rage, anger, fear, threat, danger because of those traumas, then doing the Moro exercise can actually help to create new pathways. It is not a fast thing to do. It needs to be done every day, probably for 6, 12, 18 months, because that's how long it takes to create that nervous system when we're bubbies. It's the 9 months in the womb, and then it's, the Moro reflex should be calming down by the time we're about 4 months old. So then you've got 13 months, 9 in the womb, 4 months old. And in the meantime, we've got all sorts of stuff going on, medical intervention during our births, lots of the vaccines and other drugs at birth and in those first few months of life, where the poor little immune system isn't even meant to make antibodies until we're 9 months old. So we're forcing little human beings to do things in their bodies that they were never meant to do. So that can create trauma. But anyway, so where these moro reflexes can get reactivated with trauma in our lives, and that grief can just then hold on and keep triggering us with different things. And we're in a world now where people are being triggered at the drop of the hat. And it's amazing what is triggering people these days. And the plan is to divide us, and we just have to be open and listen with love and connectedness and peace and honoring every human being on the planet, because everyone comes from a different space to where we are at. So, okay. Oh, some people end up with heartburn, and that can, so gut inflammation. So sometimes when there's a lot of inflammation in the gut, that you've heard of the huge gut-brain connection. So if the gut is inflamed, quite often that brain is inflamed as well. So basically, gut inflammation can impact on our ability to sleep as well. So therefore, products with glutamine. So the things that we need to help the gut lining are things like vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin D, excuse me, I had a banana. Vitamin D actually helps the elasticity of the gut wall. So our little gut lining is made up of all these cells, and basically they open and close all day, every day. And this little enzyme called zonulin pokes its little toe out into the immune system throughout the day to sort of see what the gut lining, where 90% of our immune system is activated from. So it releases white blood cells depending on what the zonulin pokes its little toes out into the immune system and works out that our body needs. So that's why we don't know if we are, because I do live blood screening, I regularly see things before people feel them. So I can see that the immune system is active. And I'll say, do you have fevers? Do you have a virus? Do you have, any cold flu symptoms? And they'll go, no. And I go, that's interesting, because you've got more lymphocytes than normal. Now, this is what I've been saying to people for 25 years. This is what's supposed to happen. If we come in contact with a virus, your lymphocytes, which is the white blood cell that helps to fight viruses, with a secondary effect from both the neutrophils and the monocytes, they release white blood cells that help to go out there, and they increase in number and they fight the viral particles. So if your immune system's working well, you will never know if you've come in contact with a virus. That's what's supposed to happen. That's natural immunity. Now, if your gut is weak, then that can be weakening your immune system. So you might be getting regular UTIs or gut infections or candida or fungus or skin problems like eczema or, all sorts of other bits and pieces. So if your immune system, don't forget 90% of immunity is in the gut. So if your gut and your brain aren't working properly, then your gut can actually be affecting your sleep. Now, the last thing I just want to quickly mention, because I know I've sort of, this was a bit longer than I wanted, and I keep thinking of Dr. Jen's 6 minutes of science. But anyway, I have a hard time sticking to 6 minutes, but whatever. So the other thing is looking at neurotransmitters. So when the sun comes up, and we know that, devices, we're all addicted to our devices. So devices release lights that can mess with our melatonin production. So when the sun comes up, we're supposed to release serotonin from our pineal gland, and when the sun goes down, it's supposed to convert into melatonin for the night. So serotonin by day, melatonin by night. And of course, there's so much happens. The more acidic we are, the more unhealthy we are, the more alcohol, sugar we have, the more fluoride in our water. All of these things coat the pineal gland. And the pineal gland is important for the production of both serotonin, melatonin, and the conversion of each to the other. And it tends to be inflammation and toxicity that can jam those pathways, so the conversion of melatonin to serotonin. So there's a few things that I do that really help there. One of them is a good old straight 5-HTP. So 5-HTP is a precursor to So good old 5-HTP. I don't know if you've seen that out and about. Certainly there's, so there's lots of different varieties of it. Here in Australia, it's quite expensive. And but 5-HTP is a precursor to serotonin. And you can buy things like, then things like St. John's wort help to recycle the production of serotonin. So St. John's wort is one of those things. It's a natural SSRI. And some of these drugs, of course, really do mess with us. And, that's okay. We need to, oh my goodness, really? Interesting. I always think it's interesting when things like doors slam, simultaneously. So 5-HTP precursor, that can help with a lot of people with both as an antidepressant as well as helping people to get to sleep. So that's another thought. Oh, yeah, I was going to mention this little guy as well. I don't know where you are in the world and whether or not you can get this sort of thing, but it's a formula by Clinical Extracts called Rest, and it's got several ingredients in it which are really interesting. On comes the glasses. So it's got a mix of GABA, which is anti-anxiety, 5-HTP. Then it's got homeopathic melatonin, myrcene, limonene, linalool, and organic hemp seed oil. So it's basically a little formula that works on several of the receptors on our cells that help to calm us down so that we can get a good night's sleep. So they're the sort of things that I just wanted to mention in relation to insomnia, and they're not the sort of things that happen overnight. These are not drugs that just knock out our nervous system like anesthetics. These are things that tone the nervous system bit by bit over a period of time. It's really well worth going and getting a appointment with, say, a functional medicine doctor or someone like that, so they can actually check out your levels of specific minerals and nutrients in your nervous system and in your bloodstream to know where your body's at. Because once you know where your body's at, you'll know what to take. Anyway, just a few thoughts. Hope that helps. Have a good day, everyone. Love you. Bye.